What's going on, everyone? So today this is going to be multiple parts because I'm going to do a little at a time. We're installing a plow on the F150, sitting over there in the woods, and bought it used. It's like a 2013 Western HTS. Have all the brackets, everything, all the wiring came with it when I bought it. So first thing we got to do is actually remove the bumper, which I've been wanting to remove the bumper because eventually I'm going to do the rust repair on this wheel arch, and then I ordered a painted back bumper, so we're going to color match the rear bumper finally, do that, because I figured if I'm going to be painting everything or painting that, I might as well repaint my front bumper. I did about 3 years ago, and as you can see, it's getting a little rusty. That was from scrapes, that's from a scrape, rock chips. So figure if I'm pulling the front bumper, gonna repaint the front bumper and get everything else painted at the same time. But thing is, you got two nuts. You got a nut here, nut here, nut here, and nut here. The easiest way is to get this one from here, and then this guy going through the front, through the side here, and you can access it with your wrench, kind of like this. Boom. Yeah, so there's that. I took off the three, I just got that one slightly holding it on with a couple threads, so we're going to do that. Remove it. If you have fog lights, unplug your fog lights. Simple. If you don't have them, don't worry about unplugging them. And as I forgot, there's this bolt, this bolt, this bolt for the hood release, and then the hood release, you actually push it towards the passenger side, lift up, pulls out of this tab here. We're just gonna set that right there, and now the bumper should come off. And just like that, the bumper's off. You know what, for 3 years, for living in Illinois, I would say for a backyard paint job, this held up fairly well. And I say backyard when I painted it in the side yard in a makeshift paint booth. So, because the next step is going to be stripping everything off of it to get it back to the bare bumper. Now I did make a whole series on painting, color matching my front bumper and the grill, because the grill is actually a platinum grill. So, alright, now the next step, we got to remove these guys and this thing, because this thing is just broken as it is. It keeps falling apart, so we're going to toss that to the side. Got to remove the tow hooks and the air dam to be able to mount the front plow. Did I smack into something here? Huh. Oh well. Alright, so if you guys know, I have the EcoBoost engine, and a lot of times they say you cannot put the plow, even though it's a half-ton plow, on the EcoBoost trucks. Now, most of the time, all I've ever heard is it blocks airflow to the intercooler. It's going to get airflow, and most of the time it's cold out anyways, you'll be alright. But I've never heard anybody actually mention the bracket for the intercooler is what's in the way. I'm gonna have to slice this corner for the bracket to be able to tuck up behind the bracket for the plow mounts. So I just have these two bolts in. I have to loosen them back up to get this pushed over flat against the frame still, because it requires you to drill a hole here to be able to mount that bolt there, and then drill these two holes out here to be able to put these two bolts in here. Otherwise, this is the main bracket for the Western plows, because then you can take off this part so you get ground clearance. But this is going to take a couple inches off your ground clearance, because the tow hook normally would sit here. Plus you have the valance and everything that you're going to have to trim off. The more difficult part is probably going to be running the wiring and everything, just making sure everything gets put where it needs to get put. We'll probably do that once we have the bumper back on, but for now, getting excited. Let me show you guys the plow. Some of you might be wondering, why am I putting a plow in my half-ton truck? It's not a 1 ton, blah, 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 blah. My truck, my money. At the end of the day, I've been wanting to put a plow in this truck for years. Finally found one that was a good price, and honestly, for a 10-year-old plow that came from Michigan, might be dirty, but I think it's actually in really good freaking shape for its age. And bought it off a farmer. It was sitting in a barn for about 4 years, and he said he only used it for a small parking lot, and honestly, kind of believe it based off how this plow looks, because I've seen some of these plows just torn up. But yeah, so next time you'll see both brackets will be on, and we'll probably start running the wiring and cutting the valence, but I'll catch you whenever that is. All right, so as far as the plow brackets go, I got the holes drilled and painted, so they shouldn't really rust out. And then anti-seize, I also painted the tabs. There's these bolts here that slide into the frame, come back, and then slide it through there. Same thing with this other one. Slide it in, and then you just put your nut and or washer. That was a washer, nut. That's the nut. Put the washer and nut on. Washer. Whoops. Just hit, oh my goodness. I keep hitting everything. And then tying all that down. And then there's going to be the one more bolt and nut that go right here. And then that will be it as far as the bracket goes for the plow mounting. And then these are removable because ground clearance when you're not running your plow. And then when I finish painting my bumpers, because I'm just doing bed liner on the inside of them and then painting the outside to match the truck. So once I finish painting the front bumper and get the valence on, then you trim up your valence to fit around this, which we'll probably just trim it all the way back because we'll probably have to. And then as you guys saw, I did trim these brackets here for the intercooler to fit. And just got longer bolts. So yeah, that's it for the brackets, and then we'll move on to the wiring after we mount the bumper. So as you guys can see, the front bumper is back on. If you watch the video where I painted everything, I'm not happy with the color because they had mixed the clear coat with the base, so it doesn't really pop and it's not exact, and it looks even worse on camera. So, but anyways, the plow brackets, as far as the bumper goes and trimming, I just cut straight back this way and then down. Same thing on this side, straight back and then down to take out all the plastic so there's room for the bracket here. And then on this side, I end up having to trim alongside in here, and here I was able to kind of sneak it in there. So yeah, probably did have to trim all this on this side, but you know what, more room for activities, I guess. So well, that's that. Next thing will just be setting up the wiring and everything. All right, brackets are on. Showed you guys that. New wheels are on. Poorly painted bumper's painted well, it's just the wrong color. Did the rust repair back here, barely noticeable. Don't look at it too closely or when it's clean. But working on the wiring, got most of it ran, hooked up this headlight. This headlight I left out for you guys so I can show you basically what it is. The harness comes over, you unplug it from your light bulb, and then you plug one half of the harness into the truck side, the other half of the harness into the light bulb side, and then you tuck it all back in and put your headlight in and then bolt all that. Then you have the two plugs down here. You have this one that I have ran up through here, under here, that ties into your battery, positive, negative side, and then it has the four-way connector that connects into this harness that I have coming up here running underneath all this, along with the headlight harness, and then this 4-way harness. Here's the other half of the headlight harness that runs into this headlight, and I have it underneath the air box and the coolant reservoir tank. I unbolted this, pried it, shoved it in there, and then this main harness for the power for the headlights and everything I have running here. Here's the module tucked in right here, and then the harness for the controller and the accessory switch, I have it going in into the cab, which I already have a grommet. Well, the grommet's under here. You can't really see it. Let me grab my flashlight. Oh my goodness. Sorry, lots of noises. Okay, so I have that grommet there. No, it's up there, sorry. That grommet there, and there's a wire. I had already cut a slit into the grommet for my switch for my ditch lights, and now I have the wire kind of tucked into there, but it was getting stuck. So we're gonna pull it back out from under here. I can get it out. And as you can see, I have a copper wire here that we're gonna wrap around this wire for the control, the remote, the hand control, that's the wording, sorry. We're gonna pull it over to the passenger side, so then it comes out over here. Oh, need my light again. Now once it comes over to the passenger side over here, we're gonna tuck it up underneath all this, run it to the fuse box on this side, because there are a bunch of fuses that are not used, that say they're not used. However, the only ones I was getting power was number 8, not used, 10 amp. It's a spare. It has 12 volt power to it. I was hoping for a keyed switch power. So as soon as you turn the key, it sends power to it. It does not get power to it when you switch the key. It just has constant power to it, which is whatever. I'll just unplug it come summer months. Someone in a forum was saying 43, 44, 45. They're all not used and they're switched. That's a lie. At least on my truck, it's a lie. So 43, 44, 45, not used. 10 amp, two 10 amps and one 5 amp should be keyed on with the switch, but when I was testing it, they were not coming alive. So I'm just gonna plug it into fuse 8 and just have constant power to it, and then run the connector for the harness itself for the remote somewhere here. So it's going to stick out under here, because some of you guys know I like to keep my truck looking fairly factory as much as possible. I added this doohickey for the phone, and then I have the factory brake controller, factory remote start, yeah. And I'm also OCD where all of these have to be the same way, and if somebody messes with them, I'll go back and flip it after they leave. Anyways, so yeah, we're gonna pull that through, hook everything up, and then that's how I'm doing it. And I will show you guys it once it's finished and hooked up to the plow and working, hopefully. All right, so cutting into the video, this is future me, probably like a few weeks to a month after the fact of installing the plow and everything on the truck. So here's the plow, brackets, wiring, it all works great. I switched up the wiring on it, so you can see the remotes here. I still need to get double-sided tape because I ended up ordering the bracket that I'm gonna stuff underneath here, so the remotes sits like right here. I think that's a pretty good spot, pretty comfortable. But anyways, what I did with the wiring, I pulled the mat out. I ended up putting that over there. Whoops. It's a little chaotic. Oh my goodness. Okay, so here is the fuse panel. You can't really see because there's no lights. I should probably get a light. But I have electrical tape on it, holding it down. And what I ended up doing was getting a mini fuse. Wow, you really cannot see here. Hold on. A mini fuse tap to tap into one of the fuses that is keyed on with the accessories. And I got the mini fuse, not the micro, or not the compact. So it's the micro fuse, because that's what the F150s mainly use, but it's the long one, not the compact one, because these sit a lot better in the fuse box than the compact ones, because the compact ones kind of come out. So this one actually pushes in fully and it sits. This way when I need to use the plow, like once you hook up the plow, you can see my electrical tape here. Done and done. So yeah, that's just how I have the wiring done. So then the remote doesn't do anything even when you put the key in and start the truck. The remote is still off. It doesn't do anything until, so see, the remote doesn't turn on, doesn't light up, doesn't do anything until you hook up the plow. Once you hook up the plow, the remote will be lit up with the key, and then you can on off it when the plow is attached. This way, once you turn the key off, if the plow's attached, the remote would still be on how I had it hooked up before. So this way it will turn off completely, even with the plow hooked up. And yeah, that's how I have the plow wired up on the F-150 into the fuse panel. And I have to change out for the air ride system that I have. Same thing with that block. I have the compact fuse tap in. I'm gonna put the longer one so it actually sits in there a lot better and does a wiggle loose. I know it's gonna be taller, but whatever. So that's that. Well, there it is. The plow is on, it's installed. Took a bit to hook it up because everything was pretty tight, but as you can see, the remote is just on all power all the time, but plow is oh my god, center. I wish these things had like a center thing. Anyways, I'm pressing hold to turn off, and it's off. So that's it for this video. That's how to install a plow on a 2013 F-150 / 11 through 14 EcoBoost F-150. I know they say not to, but I just drove it around the block and temperatures never went up because they say your intercooler and everything, it messes with it. Honestly, you're going to be running this when it's 30 degrees or less outside. So I think you'll be all right as far as temperature goes, but everything works. Lights all work on it. So I'm going to go disconnect it now and park my truck again. And I'm not going to be running these wheels during the winter time. I would love to, however, it's going to mess up with plowing because they're a little bit wider. Right now they're not wider than the blade, but once you angle the blade, they'll be wider. So I want to put the ones that sit in the wheel wells, and because these technically rub here already, so I don't want to have more rubbing. You want to be able to turn as much as possible while plowing. It's not for the reason of, oh, I don't want to ruin my nice wheels. No, I like, if I wasn't running the plow, I'd run these wheels during the winter, which if I get the truck a little bit higher up front or trim the plastic here, because it's only rubbing this piece right in here, if I trim it, maybe I will run these wheels, who knows. But anyways, that's it for this video. I will catch you guys later.